you, Steve.
Thank
To
you.
make a little bit of a transition about points of light tonight, I had said that music has been a point of light in my lifetime, and students have been also. About a year and a half ago, I had hit a really down time, and I mean really down. And it's funny comparing that now to with COVID, so you have to take everything in context. But that night, I did something kind of odd. I was trying to break out of the doldrums that I was having, and I picked up the iPad and I was reading. I was reading a Kindle book, and I just happened to jump onto Facebook. And it's odd for me because people who know me, they know that I don't seek any entertainment. I don't really do anything with Facebook other than post some of the things that we do with our astronomy club there. And that night on my feed was a post from a previous student of mine. And I thought, my gosh, the universe reaches out to me and us in very, very odd ways. And as I'm sitting there thinking, literally a question of what am I doing and where am I going with all of this? There's a comment on the Facebook that says the most enjoyable times that I remember was back when I was younger in school, and I was sitting. He called it the Arcola Planetarium with Mr. Williams. And I thought, my gosh, that's amazing. And he was making the post because I think it was just about the time that he had landed a position with the International Space Station, NASA, and working with the space station. So I thought, well, this is kind of amazing. And I reached back out to him. And that night, it really pulled me out of a funk because I shared with him, and I think the post went along the lines of, thank you for reaching out and sharing that with me. I had no idea how unique the time was that we spent together in a planetarium. Now, for those of you who don't know this, in Methacton School District, if you were in the school district, let's say from first grade through 12th, you probably had close to 48 visits in the planetarium. And this student had been through what I would call the tour de force. In our sixth grade, we had a 30-day unit. Can you imagine that nowadays? 30 days, a whole month, students would come in and they would have their classes in the planetarium. And what I shared with them that night in Facebook is I had no idea how unique and rare that experience was. Now remember, I'm a teacher and I'm working my way through this, and I'm just thinking all these planetariums are doing this. But I realized as I left that facility behind, that was the only place in the nation where students were having that type of an involvement with a facility, something like that. So I thanked him and I said to him, I was privileged to have our paths cross together at that time. Now, for any of you who are teachers, you all know that one of the coolest things as a teacher is when you can nudge one of those students along and help them find a brighter light and find a very successful career. So I just said to Shaun that night, I had asked him, how did you get to the space station and how'd that all happen? And he did a whole small talk with me at that point. And I said, would you come to our astronomy club? Because one of the things that I get asked the most, and Denise, you might get this with students also, is how do you get to do something like this? How do you get to work in a place like this? So here's a student who started off in a planetarium, probably with us, and had a lot of great teachers in the Methacton School District. And off he goes into the universe. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a lot of pride. I'd like to introduce with you a past student of mine, Shaun Peiffer. Shaun. Up, is he out
Thanks,
there?
man. You guys can hear me, right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, we can hear you.
perfect. Well, everyone, I'm Shaun Peiffer. Ted and the rest of the members, thank you for having me this evening. It's an honor to be here to talk with all you and share with you my story and my experiences with the International Space Station. So, you know, I remember my time at Malin Planetarium, going back to when I was around the first grade at Arrowhead Elementary School. I got excited every time the teachers would announce that they were taking the bus to go over to the planetarium. And I recall that Ted would be using an infrared beam to guide us around the Big Dipper and point out all the phases of the moon as it crosses over the sky. And whenever questions were asked, I wanted so bad to answer those questions just so I could get my hands on that pointer, Ted.
Yep.
And that was until I think that pointer dropped a few times, and you were like, nope, enough.
we
um,
we later went on and put little mice in everyone's hands. You know the mice that you had, and you'd wind up with maybe 20 kids pointing things out at once. You want to see mayhem in the sky? It was fun though. Ask them to all find the brightest star. Whoa, but go ahead.
it was definitely a lot of fun, and I would say that my favorite part, one of my many of favorite parts, was just learning about the stars of Orion. And this is the first constellation I recognized in the night sky as a child, and it really stands out to me as being very memorable. And some of the other stars I liked learning about were like Sirius and Pleiades. You know, they're always nice to see. But I always enjoyed my time there in the planetarium. It's something as a child I'll never forget. Up to this point in time, I'll never forget it. I enjoyed uh, every time I was in there. And you know, Ted just mentioned, I think in sixth grade that we were in there, what, 30
It was
classes, I
30
think.
days. Yeah. Hmm.
Geez, we're definitely in there many times. And then when I got up into high school, I was at Methacton High School. I think that's when, around that time, was when I stopped going to the planetarium. And I was charting my path into my next chapter after graduating. And so I graduated from Methacton High School in 2001. It was in June of 2001. And like any young high school kid, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point in my life. And really the only thing that really stood out was I wanted to serve my country. So I signed up for the Marines, and 2 weeks after graduating, I left the Marine Corps there in June 2001. And then I graduated from boot camp on September 13th, 2001. And then shortly thereafter, I was deployed, and I was only supposed to do 4 years in the Marines. I ended up doing 8 years. And I was a combat infantryman, a machine gunner specifically. So I was deployed all over the world, in and out of combat zones. For 3 years out of those 8 years, I was a Marine security guard for the many embassies that are protected by Marines around the world. So I was in China, Israel, in Morocco, as well as some other places. And so that was just an incredible experience that went by very, very quickly, those 8 years. And then I got out of the Marine Corps in July of 2009, moved to Washington, D.C. To pursue my college education at that time. And at that time in my life, I knew that I wanted to continue serving my country. So I worked full-time as I was going through college, worked full-time for the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General. I worked in the audit division as a program analyst for several years, and then moved over to the investigations division, working as an investigative specialist, where my primary job was to investigate waste, fraud, and abuse within the Department of Justice. And as I was working full-time, I was going to school full-time. I was pursuing my degree in international relations and affairs at the Elliott School of International Relations at the George Washington University. I ended up actually transferring to American Public University, where I graduated with a BA in International Affairs and Relations. And then it was around 2013, I was starting to take another look at my life and where I was at. And I wasn't happy. And I said, you know, I just graduated with my bachelor's degree here, and I'm working for the Justice Department and living here in DC. And it's just, I just wasn't feeling it. And so I remember just sitting down and thinking to myself, man, you know, what makes me happy? And I went back to my childhood, and I went back to my passion as a kid growing up was like everything space. And I was thinking about the planetarium and just going out there and stargazing at night, everything space. It just all came back to me, and I was like, you know what, I want to get into aerospace. And based on my background at the time, I was like, I'm really interested in the international business aspect, or the business aspect of being in aerospace. And so I went to get my MBA. I did an accelerated program through George Mason University. And I shortly thereafter graduated with my MBA and started applying to aerospace companies, and had many interviews. And I was very fortunate to land a interview with Bigelow Aerospace out in Las Vegas, Nevada. And he had a business development manager position open out there. And so I interviewed with him, and within 24 hours of that interview, I was offered the position and had 3 weeks to move from Washington, D.C. to Las Vegas. And so, yeah.
That's a culture shock.
Absolutely. Worlds apart. I didn't know anything about Vegas, never been to Vegas. So here I am in Las Vegas. And so I'm going to go into a little bit about my aerospace background here. And so Bigelow Aerospace, for those that you're unfamiliar with, is an American space technology startup company that was founded by CEO and President Robert Bigelow out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And they manufacture and develop expandable space station modules. And so these expandable space station modules, imagine a basketball, and you deflate that basketball, all right, and then you inflate it. Well, that's essentially what these space station modules were. And so imagine it being deflated, put on top of a rocket, and then sent to LEO, and then expanded with various types of gases. That module at that point would expand, and then you would be able to live and work out of these modules. And so in 2006 and 2007, Bigelow, he launched Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. These were one of the very first 2 modules that he launched into low Earth orbit. I'm sorry?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought I heard somebody.
It was an echo of you saying orbit.
Oh,
yeah, echo.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so with the launches of Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, they were only supposed to be up there for several years and then burn into the atmosphere, but they're actually still up there collecting data. And then that was followed by the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, which is much bigger than Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. Bigelow Expandable Activity Module is otherwise known as BEAM. This was finally launched in April 2016, and shortly thereafter it was birthed to the International Space Station, and it remains on station to this day. And the astronauts up there use it as a storage closet. So for all the extra stuff that they have going up there. Bigelow's intent behind these space station modules was essentially in pursuing markets for a variety of users, including biotech and pharmaceutical companies, and university research, entertainment applications, and government, military, and civil users. And so the business model includes leasing out small space stations or habitats made of one or more of these inflatable modules to different research communities or corporations. So I had a fabulous time. It was a fascinating time being out there doing business development for those modules, and getting to know everybody in the aerospace community internationally here in the United States. And so I was out there for a little over a year, and then I got contacted by the International Space Station U.S. National Laboratory, otherwise known as CASIS. CASIS is it's a Center for Advancement of Science in Space, but we just go by the ISS U.S. National Lab. And so they had a business development manager position open. Interviewed, and before I know it, I had another 4 weeks to move from Vegas to Melbourne, Florida, where I'm at right now. And so a little bit about the ISS U.S. National Lab. They are a non-for-profit U.S. government funded national laboratory that was established in 2005 by the NASA Authorization Act. We manage the U.S. portion of a laboratory of the U.S. portion of the space station. And so we're funded through NASA. We are not NASA. And a lot of times I know it gets confusing. A lot of folks out there think we're NASA. We are not NASA. We are an NGO that's funded by NASA, but we manage that portion of the space station for them. And so essentially our mission is to help improve life on Earth, foster relationships among NASA, OGAs, and the private sector, and advance STEM education through utilization of the unique ISS capabilities in microgravity. And so with that, we conduct research in life sciences, physical sciences, technology development, and remote sensing for a broad range of academic, government, and commercial users. And so out of the 270 payloads that has been sent to the ISS, 176 have been for commercial companies, including Merck, Novartis, Eli Lilly, Hewlett Packard, Honeywell, Procter Gamble, Adidas, Delta Faucet. And then in 2011, NASA entered into a 10-year agreement with us to fully develop the ISS US segment of the National Laboratory. And then in 2017, that contract was extended through September of 2024. And it's very likely that we will be further extended to 2028. That still has to go through Congress, and I believe it's highly likely will be extended to 2028, and then that'll be it because the International Space Station is coming down on the last few years of its lifespan that's been up there, and it's getting increasingly expensive to maintain the station. So. And it's also becoming unsafe. And as you probably will know, NASA is the number one thing about NASA is fail safe, is safety, 100%. So we got to keep our astronauts safe up there. And so a little bit about my position within the ISS National Lab. Basically, it comes down. My title is a commercial innovation manager, but it's a business development type of position. And so I really essentially do two things. One, I go out and I meet with companies, I meet with governments, agencies within U.S. government. I meet with companies, academia, and startups. And if they have research that they're working on that they believe, or I believe that, hey, this can get up to the space station in a microgravity environment, and it can be worked on and developed to ultimately benefit life here on Earth, let's give it a shot. Let's get it on a rocket and let's get it up to the ISS. And so I meet with a lot of these folks. I explain the capabilities of the ISS, and I put together the project management teams. I have scientists and technologists, engineers that travel with me. And so I get put together these teams and get everyone together and figure out how we're going to do this, and ultimately how we're going to benefit life on Earth for all of us. And the second part of my position is I go out and I ask for money for many of our sponsorship programs that we have. And so, yeah, I have to get money for that sometimes. You know, we don't get all the money from NASA and other folks out there. So that's essentially what I do in a nutshell. And beyond that, I want to kind of just briefly get into our research portfolio and some of our commercially operated facilities that we have on board the ISS. Our research portfolio that we have going on there, I mentioned earlier, was like life sciences. So anything from, if you guys have heard about bone glue or protein crystallization. Then we have remote sensing. Remote sensing, if you've heard about the red tide research and atmosphere sensing that goes on. Then we have physical sciences, which is really big right now, into advanced materials and artificial limbs that are made up there on station. And then our biggest part of our portfolio is technology development, and I'm sure you guys have heard about the 3D printing and just the amazing aspect of that. And so it's going to lead me, I'm going to talk a little bit about our commercially operated facilities we have up there on board. We have 14 commercially operated facilities right now, and the one of my most favorite of all the commercial facilities is it was the first commercial facility. It was our additive manufacturing facility, otherwise known as AMF. So this is a 3D printer. And by utilizing AMF, this manufacturing facility can perform station maintenance. It can build tools, upgrade and install new hardware, and repair sections of the ISS in case of an emergency. Its manufacturing capabilities also support a wide range of commercial interest on the ISS. And some of the amazing research that has come out of that AMF is everything from tools that astronauts can use to Z-bland, which is a type of fiber optic wire that was developed in microgravity. Z-bland is some pretty cool stuff. I encourage you guys to look into that. Z-bland spelled Z-B-L-A-N. So look that up. Some really awesome research going on up there in regards to that. And so I'm coming to the end here, and I'm just gonna hit on a few more things. So, you know, folks ask me, how do I get anything up there to the space station? I have to get through several line items here. You know, the first thing I'm going to ask is, all right, well, what is your research? You know, what are you working on? And then I'm going to ask, okay, does it have a need to be in microgravity? Because not everything has a need to be in microgravity, and sometimes you can get your research and start that out, which I encourage a lot of folks to do. Is, do this in suborbital flights before you expense going up to the space station. It gets a little bit more, obviously, a little bit more expensive than getting things on suborbital flights. And sometimes I get researchers that come to me, and I'm just like, this needs to stay here on Earth. It just really have. Really is not necessary to get up there on station. And so the next thing I want to ask is, you know, how are you going to fund this? And so we, the National Lab, we offer, it's subsidized. We offer the up mass and down mass, and we offer the astronaut time, which is as you can imagine, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't pay for that at all. And the only part of what you do pay for is we work we have over 30 implementation partners, and these implementation partners of ours, these are partners that have experience in packaging your research, and sometimes they have to develop and manufacture a new system to package your research and essentially get it on the rocket. And then once it gets to the space station, there's a lot of science that goes on up there. And that science in microgravity is much different than the science that's interpreted here on Earth terrestrially. So our implementation partners will help you translate that research that's taking place on station, and then help you with the post-flight analysis of your research. And so that's essentially what you're going to be paying for. And that can start out at $100,000, and that can go up into the millions of dollars depending on a number of factors, how complex your research is, if there's different phases in your research, do we have to do multiple flights? Sometimes, you want to get something up there that's heavy and has a lot of weight, and takes up a lot of room. And then I also want to ask, in addition to funding, and if you can't fund your research going up there, another part of my job is to connect you with funding sources. So there's a lot of folks I work with out there in the investment network that might be interested in funding your research. So beyond the funding part, sometimes I have folks where, all right, they are more focused on like astronaut health or space exploration or anything to do with space exploration. That's NASA's responsibility, and a lot of times, at that point, I'll just pass them off to NASA. NASA has their own programs in place to deal with their type of research. I am solely focused on research that will have a direct benefit to life here on Earth. And so I wanted to explain that differentiation right there. And so what is the future beyond the ISS? Well, right now we have Axiom Space. They are also known as Axiom. It's an American privately funded aerospace manufacturer and orbital spaceflight services company that's headquartered in Houston, Texas. This company is planning commercial missions in late 2021 to the ISS, and it aims to own and operate the world's first commercial space station. Some pretty exciting stuff right there. So before the ISS comes offline completely, it is with our hope, and I'm pretty certain it's going to happen, is Axiom Space will be up there, and then you're going to have others that will follow in Axiom's footsteps. Who knows? It might be another Bigelow or one of these other defense contractors, the Lockheeds and Northrop Grumman's and Boeing. So some pretty cool stuff that is going to happen in terms of moving beyond the ISS here in the next 5 to 8 years. And so lastly, I have we have some really cool events that come up with the ISS. You can go to our website. I'm sorry I would have put together a PowerPoint presentation out here, but I'll ask Ted to put out my email address and our website. We do have one event that we have several that's done several times a year. It's called the Destination Station, and this is one of the events that I develop and lead in conjunction with our friends over at NASA. And so our Destination Station events are open to the public. We have a STEM portion, and then we have a portion that's really focused on the research and for our engineers and scientists and researchers from the community to learn about how they can get their research up there to the space station. So that's going to be coming up here tentatively. I actually just had these discussions today, March 24th. But look out on social media and on our website. And I'll also pass to Ted the NASA Destination Station link so that when that pops up, you can go ahead and register. But that's tentatively scheduled for March 24th. And that really gives you just an overall, just general, and it's not overview of the ISS, and it's not something that's very technical in nature either. It's the STEM portion. You can open it up to your students as well, and it's appropriate. And we have an astronaut that will be there. It's going to be an all women's panel this year. So this coming March, it's going to be a great event. I hope you can join us. And lastly, so that I know said that a few times, have like another minute here. I want to say that the space industry is taking off, and regardless of what is going on in the world at this point in time, and the many difficulties that everyone is going through, businesses are going through, space is taking off, and it's not going to stop. This is not just an effort here in the United States. This is an international effort, and this is, a time for all of us to come together, put our heads together, put our resources together, and move beyond Earth, really, essentially, go to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And in my experience in joining this just wonderful industry to be part of, and to work at Bigelow and work for the ISS, I've learned that you no longer really need to have an engineering or a STEM background anymore. I don't have an engineering or a science background. My background is really like in international business, I've been education in international affairs. I've done a lot of traveling, and military, government, DoD experience, but it's not just for STEM folks anymore. Anybody, and there's going to be positions that are going to open up in this industry, in these many companies we haven't heard about, that haven't even started up yet. There's going to be positions that are going to open up that we haven't even heard of. So I encourage yourselves or your families out there to look into space exploration, look into what everything is going on with this in industry, and it's just a fascinating time right now, and I'm just so excited for the future here. So with that, I will take questions. I should note that because of my position within the ISS, there's a lot of questions, NASA-related questions, that I might not be able to ask or answer because I don't know, or I just simply cannot talk on behalf of NASA. So I have to kind of be careful here.
Totally get it. Hey, listen, I wanted to start off with something because
Sure.
I'm thinking back to those times when you were in the planetarium.
Yes.
And I'm thinking how we developed the programming that was going on. And I remember one of the things that I used to tell my colleagues was, I'm my own challenge. Every year I had to top myself, so that every time you came back, something had to be like more wow, more pizzazz, more whatever.
Yep.
But what started to happen was there was general patterns that started to fall into each grade level. Once you went through the 6th grade level, there was a 7th grade program that was called Which Plane Am I On? And what it was a program where we tried to show you the ecliptic, the galactic, and the equatorial plane. And it was a great learning experience for me, because I had some teachers who came to the planetarium that had said to me, I've been teaching these planes for years and just never realized what it meant when they said it goes to infinity. They had seen the wooden board or the Planck diagram, and they understood how planes interact with each other. But to some of the teachers, it was just mind numbing that those planes would go out and touch the stars. So I want to show you something here, because each program kept developing over the years. And one of the tools I started to use was this. I believe you're all seeing this. This is called Stuff in Space. And what I wound up doing is I would put this up on the planetarium dome. And if I take my finger, and I'm hoping this is coming across for you guys, if I put, it is, yes? Yes. And wherever I put my pointer, it's actually showing you each one of the probes or the pieces of space junk that are out there. This was a stunning visual to put over kids' heads in the planetarium, because it would take up the whole front half of the dome. And I think what we did is we randomly started out by zooming in and out on different ones, and we tried to select different objects. Mm-hmm. And I knew that the different objects had colors to them. I didn't tell the students what the colors were all about. But the gray ones were all pieces of junk that were out there. I think the red ones are live rockets, and there's bodies and everything. Mm-hmm. So what we were doing is we were trying to brainstorm with kids all the way back in 7th grade. And what was interesting is you can see this in the visual. I would link it to the science lesson, because you can actually see the equatorial plane here. Looks like a traffic jam, like I-95 on the East Coast going around the Earth right there. Was this on the dome when you were there? Did we evolve to the point that we did something like stuff in space, or do you just
I don't
remember
remember specifically this, but I definitely remember the planes there.
And the reason this lesson came into my mind when I was talking with you was because when you're designing this stuff up on the International Space Station, space junk has to be an amazing challenge. You have to track it and figure it out.
Yes.
So I was thinking in the future, if you ever get any experience with this space junk, you should consider coming back and helping us out, because we're still using these in lessons today.
Well, that might very well be part of my future. Yeah, space junk is something that has been an issue for decades. It's been something that's been discussed over and over again. There's been a lot of prototypes and things that have been developed and ideas presented to go up there and clean up space junk, but no one's like ever acted on this until a company called Astroscale, pretty amazing company. Look into them. So they have a prototype, I think, that they're going to be launching in March. That's going to go up there and actually go up there and capture a piece of space junk. So this is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. As the years go on. And the more junk that's floating around up there, it's bound to happen where someone's going to get hurt, or it could throw off a communication satellite, and then whole countries without any type of communications for weeks. So yeah, some pretty amazing. I just looking at that, it's just mind-boggling how much stuff is up there.
We know where it really comes home, and we've all been retraining ourselves to look through our telescopes with video cameras, because we can't let people share the scope right now safely. And we've done these things live with our group, and the number, I call them streakers now, the number of things you pick up passing right through your field of view are absolutely amazing. And everybody always wonders, wow, did I just see a shooting star? And so often it's like, well, it could be just space junk falling down out there. But it's amazing how much, and everyone's amazed when they look at the video cam with us, within like 5 minutes, the number of objects that streak through the field of view. So,
absolutely.
So if you ever get more experience on this one, come back and help us out, because we're still trying to turn kids on to geometry and using planes as references to find all these things around us.
Absolutely.
Hey, I don't want to dominate everybody. You can turn your mics on if you want to out there. Is anybody else